Today is June 25th, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And we are on the first leg of our adventure.
That's right. So today we are at the Creation Museum in Kentucky, and we are actually out in the gardens right now. You might hear some water or birds or music in the background.
Yep.
So.
And we have a special guest today.
We do. We found...
Hello.
Hi. We found Steffi.
Yes.
Steffi, this is our daughter.
Yeah, I'm the fourth daughter. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I am almost done with my college degree at Boyce College.
Yep.
I have 2 more classes, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Ethan.
Great.
So my last name is now Mitchell.
Steffi Mitchell.
Yeah. And so when we thought about our first leg of our adventure, Steffi, you were about an hour and 45 minutes away?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we drove up
Not too bad.
and we met here. Mm-hmm. And so we spent some time in the Creation Museum, and we're about to go out to dinner, and we're going to fill up our car with gas and those sorts of things. And she's our special guest, and she has a special announcement.
I do have a very special announcement, and it is that I am pregnant.
Ooh, great.
Grandchild number 5 for us.
Oh, yeah. Expanding the family.
Yep. So what do you do?
December. End of December this year.
Yes,
Right. So.
Yes, you're 15 weeks. So we just saw an exhibit
today.
about how we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah, it was so special.
And got to see that. That was very special.
Yeah.
That's 15 weeks is right where your baby is in the womb.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. And so we're recording this on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, we've got another leg of our adventure, which we'll explain to you as well. Stay tuned.
To see where we're going next.
Okay, but today we're reading Deuteronomy 16 and 17. And again, just to give you the big picture of things, we've seen in the first 11 chapters just what a wonderful God Israel has.
And what he has done.
And now we see what a wonderful law Israel has because they have such a wonderful God. And we're in the midst of this law, and we're seeing the feasts that Israel is supposed to have. And in chapter 17 is just kind of some just procedures they should do as they are in the land, some governmental duties. All right, so we're going to start reading here, chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to the Lord your God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night. Abib is like January. It's the first month of the year, and it was the first month because Passover was the defining moment for the beginning of the people of Israel, when God passed over the Jewish people, but killed all the firstborn land of Egypt. And you shall offer the Passover sacrifice to the Lord your God from the flock or the herd at the place that the Lord will choose to make his name dwell there. You shall eat no unleavened bread with it. 7 days you shall eat it with unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, for you came out of the land of Egypt in haste, that all the days of your life you may remember the day when you came out of the land of Egypt. No leaven shall be seen in all your territory for 7 days, nor shall any flesh that you sacrifice on the evening or on the first day remain all night until the morning. You may not offer the Passover sacrifice within any of your towns the Lord your God is giving you, but at the place that the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell in it. And you shall offer the Passover sacrifice in the evening at sunset, at the time you came out of Egypt. And you shall cook it and eat it at the place the Lord your God will choose. And in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. For 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the 7th day there shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord your God. You shall do no work on it.
You shall count 7 weeks. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time the sickle is first put to the standing grain. Then you shall keep the Feast of Weeks that the Lord your God, with the tribute of a free will offering from your hand, which you shall give as the Lord your God blesses you. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, the Levite who is within your towns, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow who are among you, at the place that the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell there. You shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall be careful to observe these statutes. He reminds them of that a lot, that they were slaves in Egypt. Verse 13.
You shall keep the Feast of Booths 7 days. When you have gathered in the produce from your threshing floor and your winepress, You shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, the Levite, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow who are within your towns. For 7 days you shall keep the feast to the Lord your God at the place that the Lord will choose, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and in the work of your hands, so that you will be altogether joyful.
3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose, at the feast of unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of booths. They shall not appear before the Lord empty-handed. Every man shall give, as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God that he has given you.
So that's when Jesus went to Jerusalem with Mary and Joseph, and Jesus was 12 years old, and then he stayed behind and was talking with the leaders in the temple.
Yep.
And his parents went home. It would have been one of those feasts.
Yeah, and these were the 3 national feasts that the people of Israel all had to come up to Jerusalem. In
3
order to
times a
worship
year?
with us.
3 times a year they
Yep.
needed to go to Jerusalem.
To Jerusalem, yep.
It's a
Oh
lot.
my goodness, 3 vacations.
Every year.
There you go.
Woohoo.
Exactly right.
Okay, verse 18. You shall appoint judges and officers in all your towns that the Lord your God is giving you, according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show partiality, and you shall not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of the righteous. Justice, and only justice, you shall follow, that you may live and inherit the land that the Lord your God is giving you.
You shall not plant any trees as an Asherah besides the altar of the Lord your God that you shall make. And you shall not set up a pillar which the Lord your God hates. Chapter 17.
Yep, so off at the end of chapters, we are encouraging people to review and to write down a summary of what's taking place in those chapters, just as a way to help process through the chapters.
Meditate on it.
Meditate on it. And chapter 16, boy, you can just think about the feasts.
Yeah,
in
it
Jerusalem.
is almost all just about the feasts.
Yeah,
other than
there's a little bit at the end
Yeah.
about how pursuing justice, but most
Yeah.
of it, if you just remember the main thing about the 3 national feasts, would be good.
And all of these are like remembrance feasts.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
Like
Uh-huh.
reflecting on what the Lord has done.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's interesting because the whole book of Deuteronomy is about remember, don't forget. And so these feasts are something that God has built into their culture so that they can remember.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking at your summary sheet even before we started, and over Deuteronomy, you have this
Yeah.
big word, remember.
Yep, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
That's
I
what
really think
Deuteronomy's
that's the theme of Deuteronomy.
Yeah. It's cool to see even how, like, that's the Lord put these in place then, but
Right.
even now with the new covenant, we have communion.
Right,
You know?
exactly. Yeah.
We have ways for
Uh-huh.
us to remember.
Yeah. And that is so we remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
chapter 17 simply
Yes.
begins this way. You shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or a sheep in which is a blemish, any defect whatever, for that is an abomination to the Lord your God.
If there is found among you, within any of your towns that the Lord your God is giving you, a man or woman who does what is evil in the sight of the Lord your God in transgressing his covenant, and has gone and served other gods and worshipped them, or the sun or the moon, or any of the host of heaven which I have forbidden, and it is told you, and you hear of it, then you shall inquire diligently, and if it is true and certain that such an abomination has been done in Israel, then you shall bring out to your gates that man or woman who has done this evil thing, and you shall stone that man or woman to death with stones. On the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses, the one who is to die shall be put to death. A person shall not be put to death on the evidence of 1 witness. The hand of the witnesses shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. That's a serious consequence for worshiping idols.
Yeah, but the idols at the end of chapter 17 was told, don't make up an Asherah,
Right.
anything but. This is purging evil from your midst. We'll see that several times here in the book of Deuteronomy. But idolatry, you should be killed for that.
And yeah.
Serious. Verse 8. If any case arises requiring decision between one kind of homicide and another, one kind of legal right and another, or one kind of assault and another, any case within your towns that is too difficult for you, then you shall arise and go up to the place that the Lord your God will choose. And you shall come to the Levitical priests and to the judge who is in the office those days, and you shall consult them, and they shall declare to you the decision. Then you shall do accordingly to what they declare to you from that place that the Lord will choose, and you shall be careful to do accordingly to all that they direct you. According to the instructions that they give to you, and according to the decision which they pronounce to you, you shall do. You shall not turn aside from the verdict that they declare to you, either to the right hand or to the left.
I love that phrase, right? Don't go to the left, don't go to the right. Like, just keep straight in front of you. Straight.
Yes. The man who acts presumptuously by not obeying the priest, who stands to minister there before the Lord your God, or the judge, that man shall die. So you shall purge the evil from Israel, and all the people shall hear and fear and not act presumptuously again.
Verse 14, when you come to the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you possess it and dwell in the land, and then say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are around me. You may indeed set a king over you, whom the Lord your God will choose, one from among your brothers you shall set as king over you. You may not put a foreigner over you, who is not your brother. Only he must not acquire many horses for himself, or cause the people to return to Egypt in order to acquire many horses, since the Lord has said to you, you shall never return that way again. And he shall not acquire many wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he acquire for himself excess silver and gold. This is just a great warning. He says, there'll be a time when you want a king, and we see that in 1 Samuel. Right. They wanted a king who he chose. It was they chose Saul, but eventually then even Solomon was chosen. Solomon had lots of horses and lots of wives and lots of money, in contrary to what the king should have been.
Yeah,
all of this. All prophesying of just the downfall of Solomon.
Yeah. And the nature of man and of that position.
Right. Verse 18. And when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself in a book a copy of this law, approved by the Levitical priests. So the king should write out the law.
His own law.
Yeah. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God by keeping all the words of this law and these statutes and doing them. And here it is, just ways that, methods to remember. Like, okay, write it out and then read it every day, and keep it. Verse 20, that his heart may not be lifted up above his brothers, and that he may not turn aside from the commandments, either to the right hand or to the left, so that he may continue long in his kingdom, he and his children in Israel.
Yeah, I'm just really struck by here how the king should read it all the days of his life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to encourage all of you to do, just to read the Bible every day, all the days of your life. And we have enjoyed trying to make that path smoother.
So we can remember, exactly, and so that our hearts will not be lifted up and want to turn aside.
Yep. So if you're writing down summaries, what we encourage you to do here, chapter 17 has to do with stoning the idolater, and then taking difficult decisions to the priests, and finally the rules for establishing a king. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us, Steffi.
Yeah, thank you, Steffi.
It's been a great time, and our adventure will continue tomorrow.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.